Hey, Jordan Belfort here, the Wolf of Wall Street in a newly situated Wolf's Den. I got the Jordan Belfort poster up here. I got the Quaalude camera over here. It's a cool one. Anyway, I have an awesome guest today. A man named Noah Kagan, legend, 30th employee at Facebook. Got fired, didn't get his options, would be worth about $600 million today, somewhere around that. But he's not bitter. He was bitter for a few years, he said, but he snapped out of it. Let me tell you something. I was really impressed with him. We have a great interview. I want you to hear every word of it. Before we jump to that, I want to give you some thoughts here about what's going on, because Noah and I spend a lot of time talking about what to do about the whole corona thing. It just keeps lingering. It's not going away. The economy is shutting down again. It's easy to get negative right now. It's easy to lose hope, and you can't let that happen. Let me just tell you something. I promise you, if you just see this through, if you just put your head down and focus on where you want to go here, remember, the greatest opportunities always present themselves at these times of crisis. When you see things slowing down, you think things not, going your way. I'm just telling you, this is the signal to work harder. It's the signal to have more stick-to-itiveness. It's very easy right now to turn on the news and just be devastated by what you see, right? Everywhere you turn, there's something that's like there's a glitch in the matrix or something, right? And I'm just telling you that at the end of the day, there is going to be fortunes made and careers advanced much faster than they normally would have for those people that are willing to move into uncomfortable situations. One of the things that I kind of learned to do is I've learned to gauge this idea that fear is like almost offset by preparedness. The more prepared I am for something, the more certain I am that I will succeed at what I do, the more likely I am to move into fearful situations. It's why they train like the Navy SEALs in a certain way. They make them so confident in the steps they're going to take and the missions they're going to make, and they get them almost impervious to fear because they're just so confident in their skill. Think about that in the real world, what you do for a living. What do you make money doing? What's your skill set? The question really is how confident are you that you really have, you're the real deal? You have what it takes to go out there and truly succeed at the highest level. Because if you don't have that, what ends up happening is when you're faced with that moment of truth, should I take action, should I not? You know what? You don't take action. You play small. The easiest way to ensure your success is through trial and repetition, training, repetition, because through that, you develop this sort of expertise, that rote ability to just do something automatically. When you feel that inside, you end up moving into uncomfortable situations. Most people, the reason they don't succeed in life is that when they play that movie out, and I speak about this with Noah, when they play that movie out, like saying, if I take action, if I put in all the hard work, if I risk my money, if I go the extra mile, will I really succeed? Do I see myself succeeding? And if that answer in your mind is, I don't know, I don't really know if I have what it takes, I can't see myself just living the life, then you know what? Your brain will say, it ain't worth it. Why take all the risk? But when you practice and you just keep trial, repeat, and you're so great at something, drilling repetition, what ends up happening is you start saying, you know what? All I have to do is put myself in the right position, get myself in front of the right people, put myself out there, and yes, I will succeed. If I do the work, I will succeed. So now is the time. It's times like this when, there's no denying that things are tough right now. It's like an economic winter, so to speak, right? But guess what? This is the time you get strong, you improve yourself, you grow yourself, and you get ready for when things unleash. And I'm telling you, the more you hold something back, we saw a little bit of it happen with the riots, by the way. You keep everyone bottled up, and what happens? It takes a trigger, and bam, people are rioting, going crazy over some causes, the spark. But part of that, there's a righteous indignation there, but also there's a spark, there's pent-up energy there, anger of being locked up. The same thing's going to happen with the economy. And when it comes roaring back, it's going to come roaring back with a vengeance. Now is the time that you put the work in when other people are not willing to. Now's the time that you go the extra mile, whether it's for your clients, whether it's for the people that you work for, whatever you're doing, you are the one that goes the extra mile. You don't let yourself get sucked into the negativity of the moment. And if you do that, I promise you that when we are on the other side of this, you will look back at this and say, that's the best advice I got. Was not to buy into the bullshit, not to lose myself in the negativity, but to stay strong and get stronger every day. All right? And with that, let's cut to our podcast. First, quick commercial sponsor, as always, from our favorite sponsor of all, me. And then after we're done, we'll cut right to the podcast with Noah. This is a perfect time now to take a brief pause here, and I'm going to give everybody here a gift. I'm going to give everybody here free access to the introduction and the first training module to the formalized straight line certification program. This is a system that I sell for $5,000 here to individuals, to large corporations, medium-sized corporations as well, right? It's a very robust, interactive training with quizzes and exams. It's ultimately a diploma-based course that changes people's lives. But I figure what I'll do here is like 12 or 13 modules, but I'm going to give everybody, this is not one of those free things where I say, and you have to enter your credit card, and I hope you don't then forget to cancel. No. I'm talking really free. I'm going to just simply give you a link, and you sign up for it, and you get access to the introduction, then the first training module, which is the 5 core elements of the straight line, cracking the code for sales and influence. This alone will change your existence. So just understanding what has to go into getting someone to buy from you. And again, there's no obligation. You're not putting a credit card in. You have to just enter your information here. And then after you're done, once you've gone through this, if you want to keep going, then we can have a conversation about you picking up with the rest of the training. But this first part of it is free. My gift to you. All right. Let me give you the link. The link is jordanbelfort.com. Simple, right? /bonus. BONUS. So after you're done listening to this podcast, go to jordanbelfort.com/ that's a /bonus, BONUS. And you'll be on a page. You enter your information, and that will give you access to this incredibly robust training. You're going to get the introduction and the first module, which includes the quizzes, the exercises. And I promise you that when you're done with this first module, you are going to be blown away. All right, so here we are in the Wolf's Den with Noah Kagan, a total legend. Noah, true or false? You are number 30 in terms of employees at Facebook, true?
True.
And did you get uber rich with stock options because of that, or what? Tell me the truth.
I did not get rich. I did get the stock options, but then I got fired about 9 months into it, and then all the options went away.
How much would have the stock option been worth today if you wouldn't have gotten fired?
It was 0.1% of the company, so whatever Facebook is worth, I think it's around 700 billion. So around 700 million. I think the wild thing is the people who are with me at that same time now to see where they're at. In Austin, Texas, one of the guys 2 blocks from our office has a hotel. Other people post like, oh, my McLaren wheels got scratched. It's crazy, man. But it also, I think it did help me to put a chip on my shoulder and led me to where I am now.
Why did you get fired?
I mean, we could text Zuck, find out. No, I think, why did I get fired? It's a longer thing. It was complicated, but I think now that I've hired people and experienced it over time, I think they made the right decision. I think at that time I wasn't mature enough and I wasn't ready to scale with that type of business. I think there's people you hire, I always call them like 0, 1s, and 2s. So a 0 is just like they're there. 1 has a brain and 2 is like the expert. And I think I was a 1 at that company. And if you want to get to that next level of business, you need 2s. You need people who are like, yo, I'm going to come in, I'm going to teach you sales. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the marketing. And I think as the company grew, I'm not a fan of meetings. I'm not a fan of having we had 30 people in a meeting to decide fonts. That just wasn't really for me. And it is interesting about the money because I thought about it for years. I was probably depressed and mad about it for 3 to 5 years.
When you first took the job, did you realize it was going to really just blow out, or no one knew? But was it already obvious? And, at what point did it become obvious that Facebook was going to become Facebook?
Yeah, I remember the story. It's funny because, offices that you've been in and so forth. I remember when we had the first office in Palo Alto, and that's where I'm from originally. So I think one thing about how to be in your own Facebook is where are you geographically, or where are you online around other successful people or so forth. And so I think it's really amazing to think about what products you're using yourself. And in college, Berkeley was like on one of the first campuses. I was using it all the time when they first opened. And so we go to this office, and I remember this distinctly. We have a floor, and then we take half of a floor. So we have 1.5. And I go up to this old Asian guy that has the other half. He's like, Facebook. He's like, what do you guys do? I'm like, it's a social network. And he starts laughing. He's like, what's a social network? And about 2 months later, we took over his space. And so it's interesting, I think, when people, as I gotten older, I'm almost 40, when I see new things, I kind of am like the old Asian guy. I'm like, TikTok, fuck TikTok. And so I'm not saying to chase everything and do everything, but I think as we get older, to be open-minded to some of the things that we're discounting right away. And then I think on the flip side, did I know it was going to be big? Yeah. So I think it's interesting to say, what am I using all day, every day? Like my Tesla. I love my Tesla. And then I think secondly, Mark had something very special in terms of his vision of the business was exactly where it is now. It's not coincidence. It's not luck. Mark was like, we are going to take over the world. We are going to connect the world to be the toll booth for the entire world. And besides being exceptionally gifted, that vision was really impressive, especially for a 24-year-old. Because I think most people's visions, including my own at times, are like, I'm going to make $1 million. Right. And Mark, at that time, no joke, Yahoo, and you can read in the news, Yahoo offered him $1 billion. I think $1 billion cash. Imagine being 23 and saying, we can give you $1 billion. And turning that down.
Well, it's like the guys did that from Groupon. It didn't work out so well for them, right? I think Microsoft offered them $6 billion. They said no. And
Google, I think, did it. But yeah, you're right.
Google, I think it was
one of those two, right?
$6 billion. Said no. I thought it was Microsoft. It was Google. But either way, it doesn't matter. Someone offered them $6 billion. And did they ever? What's their market cap now? Do you know?
I've been watching their stock. It was around $1 billion in the past, but I'm not sure what it is. I think what actually is, I'm almost more fascinated on the other side of that, where once you've made hundreds of millions or billions, or I'm in the tens of millions, you keep working. And I think that's actually, if you can just do that work that you're in the billion level, like Mark is still working, Bezos is still working, I'm still working. It's just find the thing that you're excited to work on, like you're a billionaire, and that'll create it.
I think that, my philosophy is if I ever thought I was working, I'd retire. But I'm not working.
Interesting.
Like, to me, I don't look at my work as work. I had a party here the other night, and I had some of my employees here because, we're doing well, and we want to have a little celebration, right? And halfway through the party, I'm like, I just grabbed my computer and started working. And my girlfriend says, she says, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm working, but this is what I do. Like, I love this. Like, I want to be doing nothing else right now. It's just like, and I think for me, and tell me how you feel about this, I'm most happy when I have a vision for my future and I know where I'm going. Like, there's certain times I'm feeling really clear where I want to go. Like, I have that vision. I know what I want to build right now. I know I want to build a company that's the largest recruiting company in the world that helps all companies get salespeople. Like, if you have a company, you want to build the sales force, I'll deliver you. Like, I really believe there's a huge hole in the market, so I'm excited to fill that. I feel uninspired when I don't have a vision. Like, I'm just making money. How about you?
Well, when's the last time you didn't have a vision? When's the time you didn't have that clarity?
So I would say, like, for the last 5 or 6 years, I was building a company, training sales forces around the world. And it was so easy, and it was the same thing, making a lot of money, doing well, but it wasn't challenging me. It was things I could do in my sleep. It was sort of, I felt like the cap on, like, the looking 5 years down the road, the cap was not really something that excited me. And then I came up with this pivot, this idea to, wait a second, go back a step in the process. And actually the biggest pain point is they can't even find good people. I'm the guy they call to fix the problem afterwards. And as soon as I made that pivot in my mind, I went back to vertically integrating, going back in the value chain. Totally. I was like, whoa. And then when I presented the idea to a few big companies, like, damn, of course I want that. And then and then I started to get excited. So it's like almost like when I feel like when I really see, like, you get it, and it's not always, but now I see it. A few years ago I didn't. It was just, but it wasn't I wasn't succeeding, but I wasn't feeling I was at my most vibrant self.
Alive, yeah.
How about you?
Well, it's funny. The past 3 years I felt very unmotivated, very uninspired, and
but still making money, right?
Still making money.
That's the Hawaii was.
I mean, we kept making more. AppSumo.com, which is our main business, is an 8-figure company, bootstrapped, and number one site online for software deals. And the team, I've built a team. I don't know if I built it, but I hired the team who've run the business, and they're phenomenal. And so I started doing YouTube, I started doing podcasts, and I think the phrase was I felt like I was just calling it in, right? Like just kind of like, am I really showing up? Not really. And I felt like in life at that moment, one of the things now you're making me think about it, is like I felt like I did everything I wanted to do in life, which is fucking crazy. It's like, did you really? And then I think every time I think that, I'm like, dude, you're at the beginning of the mountain. You're at the base. You're not actually even at the top. Like this is the beginning to that next adventure. And sometimes realizing that takes time and therapy and whatever ways that people have to figure that out. And so, yeah.
What was your low point in the? And so was it like a time when you got fired from Facebook? Because I didn't read the book.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the book, and I'm definitely going to. But was there a time when you were like depressed from that, or was it more like you were more righteous indignation for a while, and then how did that really play out after you got fired?
I mean, I was depressed. I was depressed for I don't know, years. Yeah, because I knew I was going to be rich. I always think whenever I started making money, I'm like, yellow Lambo, red Lambo, which color today, right? You start thinking about the different imaginations of
I was the white Ferrari, but I first got rich.
Ferrari.
I could have gotten the black Ferrari for $200,000. I said no, I want the white Ferrari because Miami Vice, John Johnson, and I paid $250 for it. And the color was everything, right?
Yeah, I mean we hit lows, man. I mean, I'm sure I know you've gone through your own. I think everyone does. That's one thing I always try to share. It's not that because you have millions or billions or nothing that you don't feel sad about life, and it's just like, how are you going to deal with that? So for me, I basically just hit rock bottom. I went and I lived with all Facebook people. I left the house that I was living with everyone in, and then I moved to my friend's couch. And I just kind of like, I basically just like, that was a moment where I think all of us have defining moments of life. My friend and I have talked about, there's about 10. There are about 10 moments where you can decide what you want to do in life, and that will change everything. And for me at that moment, I was like, fuck Facebook. And so that led me to figure out, all right, well, how do I prove them wrong that they made the mistake?
Right.
And so started doing consulting, started doing just different projects. Like one thing I think that's interesting for anyone out there who maybe doesn't have the business or isn't at the million level or whatever level they want to be at is just kind of noticing the things you're doing for free. And so for me, what I've always really done for free, I've always done marketing and promotion, and I've always done events or like connecting people or like, and it's kind of what I've always done. I've been blogging since 2000, and I started putting on conferences, and those actually made $50,000 each, which I wasn't trying to. I just was like, oh, let me put on a conference. And that led me to Mint.com, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
No, what is that? Tell me what it is.
So Mint.com got bought for $200 million. I was number 4 there. It's basically QuickBooks Online. Okay. It was it was the first and biggest and most popular like online personal finance tools. And so for me, I think for people out there, I was just putting on events, meeting people, and I waited. I think I was a little bit more patient. I kept busy, but patient to be like, what do I really want to go hard in? And then when I saw Mint, it was the same thing as Facebook is, how big is this market? Is this something that I personally want to see in the world? And then I went after it. But I think something that maybe you'll appreciate is I didn't get the job originally there. They rejected me. I went in there and I was like, oh yeah, can I come do the marketing? That was the job they had available. I've never done marketing before. I don't know how to do marketing at that time. I just like blogging.
Right.
And the guy said, no, I don't want to give. Aaron Patzer, the founder, said, no, I don't want to give you the job. So I said, all right, Aaron, I'm going to put together a 90-day roadmap. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to come back to you in a week and I'll walk through the plan. I just need 30 more minutes of your time, and I'll show you every single thing I'll do as the director of marketing. And if you like it at the end, if you like it this week, you hire me for 3 months. And then at the end of 3 months, if I'm doing the results, then you hire me full time. So I literally spent, 40 to 60 hours working on a marketing plan. Every single thing I was going to do. And I came back on a Friday or whatever day it was, I think 7 days later, I think it was a Friday, walked through the plan, and he's like, holy fuck, this is impressive. And it was impressive because I spent my whole time working on it for free. And guess what? I think this is the kind of difference between the people who end up making it or not, is that there's a likelihood I could have not gotten it. But I basically did everything possible to reduce that chance. And so I ended up making $90,000, and then he bumped me to $100,000 when I got the full time. After 3 months, I got full time. And I think that's something, especially if you're starting out and you're like, I want to be like Jordan, or I want to be where Noah is, wherever it is. Like, what can you do for free to make it like a no-brainer for that person to want to hire you? And that's what I did.
So you basically had the confidence in your own abilities to say, I'm willing to do the work first, and then prove myself, and then right. But reverse is just pay me, and then.
Yeah, man, I think about it even with like podcasts or YouTube or a lot of, everything in business, it's what's in it for the other person.
Right.
And so I basically made it a no-brainer. That's the way I always try to position. How do I make it where he can't say no?
Right.
Or, man, I was thinking about, I went to Israel on a free trip. It's called Reality. And they have thousands of people apply. And I thought a lot of people apply and they all do the same application. Or when you apply to any job, they always send in the piece of paper. And I was like, well, I'm going to make a video. And I'm going to hire a professional video editor to edit my video. And then I'm going to do an application and have a professional copywriter edit my application. And yeah, I got that. What
exactly is Reality? What is it?
Reality is by the Schusterman Foundation. It's a trip they put on every year to bring people to Israel to learn about it. And like, it's actually not all not all Jewish people. But the point that I thought was interesting about it is that when I applied, and this applies to everything, I didn't just apply and send in my resume. I didn't apply just fill out the application. Basically, like I put in it's not just putting in the work. It's I did it to make it so exceptional that they would have to choose me.
What do you think it is about most people that stops them from achieving like real success in life, financial success?
I asked my mom this. She's like, they just can't.
Not smart enough.
That's
don't
what my
have
mom.
skills. They're screwed for life. What do you think it is?
Yeah, man. Why does it?
Do you have any theories on that? I mean, I have my theories, but what are yours?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. We have a course called monthly1k.com. It's $7, and I've helped over 10,000 people start or succeed in starting businesses. I think there's many different ideas about why people don't get to success. I think one, people need to define what is success for them before anything. Because I think you can have a nice house. Like I actually bought a Jag, and I fucking hated it. I was like, I literally the first day I got it, I parked it at my what's the proctologist, my ass doctor, and this lady pulls up next to me with her father, and she opens the door and door dings the Jag, and at the proctologist, by the way. And this is the first day I got it, and I get out of the car and I start screaming at them. And her father, who's there as well for the doctor, comes out and he starts begging on the ground. And I'm yelling at them both. And I was like, this is who I am? I was like, this is not who I want to be or how I want to behave. And also, this kind of car doesn't represent me. And so I think success needs to be defined number one. Because it doesn't have to, it could be as much money as you want. But people don't actually think about how much do I actually need to live the lifestyle I want. And then in terms of why people don't do it, there's fear. Fear is the number one thing I've seen. They're afraid of rejection. So I always tell people to do the coffee challenge. I don't know if you've heard this.
No.
Go ask for 10% off next time you buy anything. You just ask for 10% off. And you get rejected. And you're like, I'm still fucking alive. Like I got a Frosé. I still do it.
Do you get 10% off though?
You do. You actually do get it. And the people are always like, why don't you ask for 20%? Because the point is not to get the discount, which is a nice thing. But the point is to practice and build fear and rejection as a muscle so that you do it in sales. When you do it in business and you get rejected, you're like, that's not so bad. I think sometimes you get rejected, it's a conviction of, do you really want this? And so I think practicing the fear and overcoming fear, probably one thing. I think the second thing is people think being an entrepreneur and running the business is going to give them the life they want or the freedom they want. But sometimes being an employee is way better. It's way better. If you can basically get paid, if you can work on things you want, if you can work with people you want, and you can work the way you want, I'd rather just be an employee.
I think a lot of people, I think it's true that fear of failure is definitely part of it. I think there's another part, though, that really holds people back even more, and that is that they don't really believe they're going to succeed. When they play the movie out in their own mind, they just really can't see themselves actually achieving what they want. So they say, why do all the work? Why put all the effort in when I just can't really, I don't believe, see, when I'm thinking about doing something, and I have to believe that when you have an idea, you actually say, I can do it. I know I possess the skills. I'll make it work. I know I can make it happen. So because of that, you say, well, I'm willing to put the elbow grease in, the time, the risk, the money, the energy, because I know I'll succeed. When most people say, I'm not really a closer. I don't know how to market. I'm not that sort of person. So they say, I don't see the gold mine. I don't see. So why do the work? Why take the rejection? If I knew it, I'm willing to take rejection so long as I know I'll get what I want in the end. You see what I'm saying? It's a different way. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not, it's funny. People think you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to be risky. I'm not risky. And I think because in your mind you think you're going to succeed. As you'll say, when you look at the whole thing, you're like risk reward. Well, the reward's greater than the risk. If someone looks at their futures, I don't think I can be that. I can't see myself being successful. Yeah.
Then how do they say why would I want to take that risk? Why do the work? Why put my money on the line? Why put myself on the line when I know in the end I really can't see it happen?
Well, there's two things that come to mind, but the first one is I actually don't see it like when I started this business. That's now an 8-figure company. We make millions a year, and it's profitable. All this stuff, and you should always, whenever someone tells you the revenue, by the way, always ask the profit. That's the truth. That wasn't my vision. My vision was to be a millionaire. I never knew how I would get there. I just thought it shows up in the bank account. And so for me, I think where most people can actually start is, how do you just focus on getting one customer? How do you focus on just making your first sale? How do you focus on just like doing your first marketing? And I do think sometimes people think, how do I scale this? And how do I get to this? And this is not happening right away. And I have to put up money. I'm like, don't spend any money. Don't spend any time. Learn from the experts who are sharing things for free, which is fucking crazy. And just focus on doing one customer. I think the second part of that, and so then that will lead you to start building up confidence, getting results, and getting to the end result of whatever success you want. Maybe it's millions or billions. The second thing I do think about is my friend Daniel. I won't say his last name, but he worked at tech companies, which is where my background generally is in online, and he got fired, just like coronavirus with a lot of people, and he's been applying for jobs for the past 3 months. And this is a story I think is more common that me and you maybe are further from. And so it's been interesting to see him struggle, really struggle. And he applied for jobs, and I saw him put in the 40 hours per one job. I saw him. He was with me. While I was working, he was right next to me. And it was sad. And now he's driving for Grubhub or Uber Eats. And I think at that point, it's very easy for him to start feeling discouraged, right? Like he's telling me today, like he was applying for a certain type of job, customer support. And he's like, well, now I'm going to try a sales job. And the thing that I'm trying to really have him thinking about is, what is in your sphere of control? And how do you just keep expanding that sphere of control to build up? Because right, when you apply for a job, at some point, it's not in your control. It's some schmo who's got their own life, and they look at your resume and they're like, nah, fuck this guy, right? It's actually probably, but this is all you're thinking about. And so with Daniel, I'm like, well, all right, number one, get some money in the bank. Just start doing some driving so that you build up your feeling good about yourself. You start having money, you're not worrying about it. And then step two is like, how do you start doing little things to get money? To just start building potentially your own business. So the things I've told him to do, I was like, yo, just go sell people stuff for them. Everyone's got extra shit. Just go collect it and sell it. All of your friends' stuff. And guess what? By the time you start doing that, you'll figure out there's some type of businesses in there. And the second thing I've told him is like, find your friends who are rich. Find anyone who has money, like me, and figure out what I need help with. And then go do that for me, and I'll give you money. But I think with him, he wants to make it harder on himself. I think a lot of people do. And so coming back to all that stuff.
Well, I think that, some people, like he's trying to find himself a job. And what you're saying to him is like, it's almost like be entrepreneurial. It's just like, find a need, fill the need, and then you'll get paid for filling some need, whether that's helping a rich person or selling things. Listen, I'm in my whole life, I never doubted for my adult life that I would ever be able to make a lot of money. I always knew I'd make a lot of money because I'm a salesman, and with the ability to sell, you could always take something and sell it.
Okay, hold on. Let's take a step back. So this morning I was on my balcony and I had a thought, and I would love to hear your answer. Okay. So I had a thought, and I was starting to explore. If you lost everything today, like these guys are gone, the cameras are gone, the podcast is gone, you have you have your network, you have all your knowledge, but you have $0.
I was there.
No, but like today. I'm
again.
Curious, yeah.
No, not again. No, not again. Oh my God.
I know, but I was thinking about this morning.
Oh, I'd be rich again in another, rich millionaire in a year or so, and then very wealthy in 5.
Okay, so walk me through that. Like, how would you get to the million? Like, what would you be thinking about? I think it's your thought process that people could be learning from. And I'm
so this route to where I am now is this really weird thing that happened. I wrote this book, and this just like it was this accidental journey I'm on right now where I became a brand, and that's not duplicatable. So let's just knock that out. So imagine that.
I actually think that's important.
But I'm just saying. But no, it was not. I'm talking about not having a plan. Like I didn't say okay. I didn't say I'm going to write this book and build. I just like wrote. I was like, it was mostly like, honestly, I was at a point where my life, I was having trouble making sense of my life. I had this massive company. I was very, very young. I had this wild, insane life. And then I got sober. And then I was like sort of, went to jail, lost pretty much all my money. All right. And like, I was like, wow, I never doubted I'd be rich. I knew I'd be rich again, but like, how was I going to reconcile that craziness against the future that could be as vibrant and exciting? You think
it's gonna be boring, probably.
Yeah. Well, so and I just ended up, being in a jail cell with Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong, and he's got me writing, and I had this. I developed a skill for writing, and people started liking my pages, and then it just happened, and then so it was like this really weird. Like I was like, I'm not like I'm gonna write a bestseller and become famous. That's not what happened. It was just sort of I started writing it, and people started loving the writing. writing early on, like famous, very big people in the movie industry and in book publishing. So I just wrote the book, and lo and behold, it happened, and I got that 1 in a million thing with Scorsese, DiCaprio, and the rest is history. But if I was doing it again right now, it's very simple. I would simply say, okay, what right now needs to be sold? Meaning, there's always something of the moment. There's always whatever the latest thing, whether it's solar panels one year, it's mortgages another year. Like when there's the refi boom, there's the solar boom. There's anything there's out there, I could do better than anybody else when it comes to selling, and I can train people to do the same. So it's immediately go out there, become the top producer the first day. Like the top producer at any company I went to, break the records the first day. They'd say they would instantly offer me a partnership to help them build the company, and I would have my own company again in a matter of months.
So how would you get your foot in the door for these companies if they maybe you didn't have the?
If all I got to do is they meet me for a second, they hear me speak, and it's over. That's a gift I have. Certainty and persuasion and sales. And, you talk to me for a minute about selling any product, I'm the real deal, and I can get in front of any CEO and convince them of that. Or let's say not even a CEO, because I'm talking about more of a smaller company looking to grow and scale, right? So if they heard me, I'd say, listen, let me just sell your product. They'd say, great. If they heard me sell their product, they'd say, what the fuck was that? I've never heard anything like that. Well, how did you do that? That's happened to me my whole life. Anything I've ever sold, people are like, what the hell is that about? Like, how do you sound that way? You sound so good. Like, I don't sound normal when I sell, and I teach people to do the same. That's how my company now is. I take all these kids, right? They're just getting started. I teach them this way of selling, and it's a license to print money for the rest of your life if you can close. Especially if you can close ethically, and I learned that I made that mistake when I was very young, because you can take that power to close and you can use it to create chaos, right? So I would start off, become the top producer, and then immediately build a company around that, and I'd be rich again every single time. That's me. So
someone like Daniel, if he is interested in sales, is try to find maybe a smaller company where he can get talking to.
The question is, first you have to, so I have a system I teach called the straight line, right? It's a very powerful system that anyone can learn. You could buy the system, you can even get stuff enough, like you said, people give shit away. I give stuff away for free too. The free stuff is great too, right?
Yeah.
If you want the organized stuff, they pay for it because it's worth it, right? You get what you pay for, right? But if he wants to be a salesperson, he has to learn how to sell. Like there's a system I teach that takes them with natural ability and makes them amazing. It takes them with very little ability and makes them amazing too. But like, again, I always say, like, I'm not going to take tennis lessons and become Roger Federer. I can get really good at tennis, and I am good at tennis. I'm not Roger Federer, right? But, you have to do what you're best at. So, I think people should try to find, listen, there's this combination of, they say, should you monetize your passion? Maybe. I'd monetize what you're best at. Like, what's your real natural skill set? What do you really thrive at? If you want to make money, find out what you're great at and monetize that. Not so much what you love to do, because there might be no money in what you love to do, So for me, it's always been about, my best friend growing up, his dad used to say, if you drop Jordan down the toilet bowl, he'll come up holding a plumber's license, right? And what that means is that's the ability to close the deal. So I think in your world, you're like almost the marketing counterpart to what I do. You have the ability to say, I could always find a way to market something online or figure out a way to get something, right? And there's a value in that. And those two components together, marketing and sales, work together very well. Marketing brings people into the funnel. Sales closes them. Sometimes you can get great closes with just marketing because the sales is built into the copy and the land. But if you really want to get to the next level, someone's got to pick up the phone and call to really get the bigger money from people. But they work beautifully together. People say, well, is sales being replaced by marketing? No. The greatest companies have both. They have fabulous marketing and great sales.
Yeah. I think one thing, I don't know if you weren't intentional from what you were saying, but it was, you did build a brand, you did build an audience, and so that's not exclusive. Anyone can start that today. Like, we have a thing that I've used called sendfox.com to start a newsletter, and anyone, you can start your audience now. And so if you want to have a business later, it's like, so it's
what I'm saying is I didn't like try to build a brand. It wasn't like my
but it's amazing that you did.
It had by accident. Well, you can deliberately build a brand though, for sure. 100%, I agree.
In sales, in marketing, in whatever it is you want. And I did think about that, where that's how you differentiate yourself from being a commodity, right? Like if you want to move up the value chain, it's like, oh, I know this person, I trust this person, I've seen him on YouTube, I'm probably to pay him or her more money. What thing coming back? What do you doubt of yourself? You have so much confidence. I love it.
It's not that I have. So it's not that I don't have. So here's the interesting thing. So people say, you're so fearless. You're not, I'm like, no. I'm as scared shit as everyone else. I just don't let it stop me. I don't let my fears hold me back and disempower me. I let my fears empower me. When I'm scared, I'm nervous, I work harder. I use it as a way to work harder, propel myself to success versus being paralyzed by my fears. And because I think everyone has fears, I have not learned. It's probably a better way, like to be able to. I'm so great. I've learned to overcome. I haven't. I'll be honest with you. I'm not. I'm every bit as scared as everybody else.
Yeah.
I just never let it stop me. I move. When I'm fearful, I literally. That's my sign to go. I've trained myself to move into fear because that tells me I'm probably heading in the right direction. Because when most people, like, there's always like, what's the gap? The gap is what everyone else is not really doing or ready to do or too scared to do. To me, I'm like, okay, that's my, there you go, or I'm not.
It's your compass.
And I'm going to work. I always say, so much of success is getting yourself to do the things you know you have to do, even when you don't feel like doing them. And another side to that coin is doing things other people might not be ready to do. I don't mean that unethically or illegally. I mean that just like working harder, putting myself out there, not being scared to fail, be judged. I think in this world, everyone's going to judge me for something these days online. You could have the greatest thing in the world. Oh, it sucks, right? So you have to be impervious to that. I think for me, it's not that I'm so confident. It's that at this point in my life, I know the truth about myself. I know I have the resiliency. I have the track record to come back from failure. And there's a lot of, you must know in your heart of hearts at this point in life, it doesn't matter what you do to me. I will come back. I will make it right. So when you have that, it's almost like there's a certain assuredness that you can go through life with because, hey, I can afford to take a couple along the way because I'm gonna prevail.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and for you, do you think, true or false, I think that you get stronger from every failure?
I mean, that sounds good.
Do you think so?
I think if you choose to. I think some people put their heads in the sand and accept the failure as part of like the bad luck they have. I think of myself as a lucky person, but it's not that luck is always happening to me. I think a lot of times what I've thought about is you don't see what happens in the kitchen. You see that Noah's a millionaire and Jordan has this thing. It's like you're not seeing all the things that didn't work out. The difference is we just keep going, and I don't think that's exclusive. I think that's more of a practice.
Overnight success is the 3 years of hard work.
I call it the 10-year rule. So what I believe is to make $1 million, it takes 10 years. Which is not sexy. But I think the thing that I've thought about that is if you want to make $1 million or whatever amount of money you want or success in music or photography, 10 years is what it took me. And so you start today, and 10 years is what I've noticed a lot of other people. You have to start today, which is important. You have to find something that you want to work on for 10 years. And then 3, you also have to realize it does take time. I will say there are easier ways of making money to get it done sooner, but I think some people expect it to happen immediately.
Well, I think, it depends. It's very industry dependent. It also depends where you live in the world. We live in, I've been around the world. I've been to every country pretty much, really. Almost every country. At least 60 of them at this point. And, $1 million in some countries is an awful lot of more money than they'll probably make to live a great life. So it's really not, I wouldn't say, I don't like using a dollar figure because it's like I'm telling you, I've been around and in one country that if you're making $50,000 a year, you're on top of the food chain. In a lot of countries out there doing really, really well and providing for your family. I think it's what it's about. To me, I believe that there's 2 ways to get rich in this world. Besides Lucky Sperm Club and hitting the lottery, right? One is to own your own business, of some sort of business that you own, all right? Or where you're getting equity in some business, whether it's through stock options, but, a real equity slice. That's one. The second way is as a salesperson, where you're a commission-based salesperson, because then you own your own. It's like as a commission-based salesperson, you really own your own company. And then, of course, I'm not saying you can't get rich by investing in real estate slowly, but that's owning your own business. If you're building up a real estate portfolio, you're in the real estate business. So I don't think people get rich from a salary, so to speak. I think that's really a bankrupt way of. I'm not saying it's a bankrupt lifestyle, but a way of trying to get rich.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. It's funny, one of my previous companies that I started was payments for Facebook games. And because I was the owner, I got equity. But our sales guy got commission. And the sales guy made more money than me. So as you said it, I was like, yeah, fuck being the owner. Because I think what's interesting about sales from the perspective you're saying is there's no limit to your upside. Right. And that's really what you're aiming for in business.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, it depends again. So I'm a big believer in that there's some things that you can sell. Like let's say you work 60 hours and you're selling X. And you work 60 hours and do just as well and you're selling Y. You might make 10 times more money in X than Y because by the nature of what this is, it's more, for example, the stock market. People are fundamentally overpaid that work in the market. Like you could be on Wall Street as a stockbroker, which is a glorified salesman, nothing more. And the average moron stockbroker makes like $300,000 a year, like a moron stockbroker, right? Yeah. You could take that same person of equal intelligence, equal talent, equal work ethic, equal positioning in one particular, even a different industry, they'll make $75,000. Just because the economics are not as good. You understand? Like you just don't make as much in that industry. And there's a lot of those industries I know because I train the salesmen and I watch. They're great. They're top closers. What you make? 180 grand last year. Like yes. Like okay, it's great, but that same person selling something else might make another zero on top of that.
Well, the things that you got me kind of reflecting on is that there are easier ways of making money. And just one of the things I did a YouTube video on recently was how many business ideas I did to finally get one that's now making 8 figures. And it was 24 over the past, I don't know, I graduated in 2004.
Right.
So it took me many years of many things to finally get to that point. So it does take time. And I think some people expect it to happen right away.
I think that I think the lesson is it can happen quickly. It can happen slowly. Some of it, that's where the luck comes in. Like, you know, I mean, like luck, again, is the old saying, preparation meets opportunity. But the point is, you know, the harder I work, the luckier I get. But there is luck involved. There is luck. There's timing. There's luck. So that's why when I originally, I kind of paused for, I said, well, I'll be rich in a year. So maybe not a year. Because there is luck involved too. In other words, it might take 2 years or 3 years for me to get really, because I might the first shot might be in the wrong direction. You never know. Yeah. You find things that look really good on paper don't always play out in the real. How many ideas did you have that when you had it on paper and you thought it was like, oh my God, it's the best idea, right? And then for whatever reason, something happens. It doesn't quite play out that way. There's a limiting factor, some obstacle, some sort of friction somewhere in the model. It just stops it from expanding, right?
Well, I mean, what's crazy, because I've looked this numbers up recently, is that AppSumo.com, which is our main business, the first year I started it by myself, didn't take us any salary. We did $150,000 in top line revenue. That was our W-2 or our tax return, our 1040. That was 2010. In 2011, our tax return was $3 million in 1 year. That's insane growth. That's hyper growth. And so that was 1 out of 24 business ideas. So I think you have a good point, though. It can happen differently. I think what a lot of people who started businesses, they make it really hard on themselves. And I think, to your point, it's find something you love as a product and find something you want to be selling or you want to be working on and go do that. And for me, promoting software tools that I get to use and get good deals on, and I get paid for this, it's amazing.
Explain to me where you think the real niche, right? Like if you were that young kid, I think we actually had a question from someone said if you were right now just getting out into the world and you had $25,000-$30,000 to your to spend, right? And you wanted to turn that into what was it, 100,000 or $1 million? What was the question? 100 grand.
So I have 25,000,
and you want to turn it to 100 grand in 1 year. What would you do?
So 25,000. So I need $75,000 profit
with the 25 grand.
Yeah. So it's funny with the 25 grand. I think you have to look at your strengths and what you have advantages in. And so for me, it's in marketing and then the people I have relationships with. So first off, the way I like to do any single one of my businesses is model. So basically take the 75,000, divide that by 12. It's around $8,000 a month or 7,500. So now that gives me something, a target, like a sales target. And so that's the way I've always started all of my companies is some type of model, some type of goal setting. So with $8,000 a month, it's like $200 a day, give or take. What was that, $250? I think the first thing I would approach is look at any of my friends who have businesses or anyone I know that's running a business or doing content creation. And I wouldn't actually spend the $25,000. I'd probably keep it. And so basically go to these different people and say, hey, I see you're doing marketing for this. Can I do any consulting for you? That'd probably be the first things I would do is go and look at my network. And this is what I think people miss out on. They look to people they don't know. Look at who you already have access to and start with that. Some people, then what people always say here now, though, is, I don't know anyone, which does make it a lot tougher. So if I had to get $8,000 a month not knowing anyone, I think there is something I was thinking about for sales. specifically, which I've done a lot of sales. Like AppSumo, we have a 10-person sales team. And my previous business, I did sales. I would go to someone that's a company that I already like or a company I already use, not Facebook, do someone more accessible, and I would bring them a customer. So I would take some company, not Fiji Water, but some smaller, most likely in tech, because that's my specialty and what I enjoy. And I would say, hey, I brought you guys a customer. Are you guys looking for me to do more of this? Would you want to pay me $8,000 a month retainer? And I think that would probably be a little bit easier approach. But I think what more importantly is like bring someone the money so that they're excited to give you a part of that money.
Okay. So any particular industry in the tech industry?
I mean, I specialize in email marketing, right? I think you have to look at what you've already done or what you have expertise in or some type of skill base. So like I'm exceptionally great. Like our company's an 8-figure company from email marketing. Lately, I'd say my expertise has been in YouTube. Like that's where we're now going pretty aggressively. So I have a pretty strong understanding. So I would not look for content creators because they're poor. Like all these guys on YouTube are very poor. That's the thing that most people don't realize. Like they look rich, but they're all poor. So I'd look for businesses that are not on YouTube that seem like they're actually doing well. That means they have money. And then I would approach them and said, hey, I've grown my YouTube channel. I think you can use this. If your customers are worth $500, if we're able to get them for you, like that's this much value a month, like $100,000 in revenue a month for you guys, if we can grow your channel. And I'll do all the work for you. I'm looking for $8,000 a month. And so I still haven't spent the $25,000. I'd probably just use that for on Chipotle or whatever it is. But I think the more important thing is who has the money, what's important for them, how do you create value for them based on your expertise, and at the end of the day, make it a no-brainer for them to want to give it to you. I think actually, so that's what I'd do if I was just starting out. Where I'm at today with my network, I would just email my mailing list. I would email my mailing list, say, hey, I have 4 slots this month for consulting. It's $2,000 each. You get 1 hour a week, and then I'd probably sell that out today.
How much you say? What were you charging again? Was that for 1 hour?
I would probably do an hour. Normally, I don't do consulting. When I've done in the past, it's like $1,000 to $1,500 an hour. So I'd sell because I want to make $8,000 a month. That's how I get my $75K. I would just say, hey, I'm having 4 slots available. It's this package, $2,000, and you get whatever, an hour a week or an hour every other week.
One of the big things I think is really important is building a list, for sure, right?
1,000%.
What's your strategies like for a person that's just getting started? What's the quickest way to build a list of people? Yeah,
so the more important thing that I've found is just consistency. All right, so go to sendfox.com. That's our free tool that we use for email marketing.
Called what's it?
Sendfox.
Sendbox.com. Okay.
What I actually think most people should focus on is consistency. And so there's 2 key things when you're starting your email list. People are like, well, what do I write about? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Just find something you're interested in writing about. 2 things you should do. 1, focus on getting to just 100 people on your list. That's it. Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know anyone. Everyone has 100 friends. Just get 100. The second thing is then commit for 52 weeks to write 1 newsletter every Thursday. Or whatever day a week is your special day. I do it every Wednesday. And just do that for 52 weeks. And I promise you, and the audience and the listeners, viewers, that after 52 weeks, and if you at least get 100, which you can do within a weekend,
right,
you'll have something successful in the end of the year. And so how do you get the 100? Honestly, everyone has 100 friends. It's not, I think when a lot of times I read books or I listen to podcasts or I watch YouTube or I buy courses, sometimes there is systems and processes like your selling course, I would assume. A lot of times it's just, I call it like hand-to-hand marketing. You just go one by one. So I look through on my phone, like who have I texted recently? I look at my Facebook groups. I post on my social media. I update my social media bios. There's some other things that are more advanced, but all that takes time. When I've started businesses, most of my $1 million companies happened in a weekend. Because I think people get this idea it has to, like, I need to spend the $25,000. Did I talk about spending the $25,000 at all? No, because I don't fucking need to.
Right.
I want to find out it makes money, and then I'll start spending money. So, for example, for our business at AppSumo.com, we were talking today. We started noticing that we put out freebies, like free PDFs. So we'll put a PDF, like a 40-page PDF on how to grow YouTube channel. So we'll hire a bunch of experts. We'll hire a professional designer. Probably costs us between $2,000 to $3,000 to create. And that will make us $25,000 in revenue. $3,000 for $25,000. That's a good return for the people doing math at home. So then we're like, holy fuck, how do we do 100 of these a month?
Right.
And I think that's where we've had a lot of success, finding things that work and going crazy on it. So in terms of the things for an email list, just focus on 100, do your basic things, and then you want to do things that take a longer time, like do guest posting, do YouTube, do Instagram, do ads, do the stuff that most people are familiar with, blogging, all that kind of stuff.
What do you think about all like the whole guru space out there? Like there's so many people that are just like position themselves as experts in e-commerce and experts. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, for a long time I hated them. And I think there's in all hatred, there's some level of jealousy. Not in all hatred, but in a lot of hatred, there's jealousy. And jealousy is that it's thinking that we're better than them. What's fascinating about it, though, is that you can't get to some level of status or some level of followers or attention without getting people results. Because eventually they're like, okay, either you're fucking retarded, or for a certain group of people, it's actually working for them. And so I've started coming around the corner. Like, I used to hate Kim Kardashian. I'm like, okay, you got born with a fat ass, and now you're popular? Like, I wish I got born with a big dick, and I probably wouldn't be that popular still. But it's just amazing.
You gotta have respect for her.
And so now that I'm focusing more of my time on creating content, I don't want to be a guru. I think there's different ways that people want to position themselves. I want to get people results, and I do want to be recognized. I want some level of I don't know if it's validation, but attention and recognition of getting results for people starting businesses.
Why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it.
I love, I'll tell you one thing, I love all the emails I get, people saying thank you. It's just, why not would you love that? It's great. You know, people say thank you. It's best thing ever, right?
Well, that was one thing. So in terms of the guru thing, now that I'm doing it full time, so we have a team of 4 building out our content on YouTube, youtube.com/OkDork for the people curious. I have a lot more respect because I think a lot of people eat food doesn't mean you could be the chef. A lot of people watch content and they're like, oh, look at that fucking guy. He's talking to a camera. That looks pretty easy. I could do that. There's a difference between an amateur and like with you in sales, there's a difference between an amateur and a professional. And the way they treat these things is very, very different. So now that I'm doing it full time, anyone who's actually can build a business around it, I have a lot more respect for. I think for me, the way I've approached it is I have a cash cow. I have a business that actually makes all the money. And so I now get to spend the time doing whatever I want. And what I want to spend my time is sharing. Right. And connecting with the audiences and things like that. So I have more respect for them.
What's the average age of the person that's like in your network that you're helping?
In terms of my audience or people that I surround myself with?
Your audience.
I will say one thing I want to highlight, though, because of building a brand, and anyone can do it. It's not exclusive. You just have to do it for a long period of time. Is the amount of people I get to meet. I'm meeting you because of like, yes, I built the company stuff, but it's because I have social media and like email lists and blogs, and that's fucking awesome. Right. That's so fucking cool. Like, isn't this amazing? And so it's not exclusive. Everyone can do it. And so I always try to encourage people to, but you have to start now. For the audience, it's funny. Most of my audience they're getting older with me, and a lot of dudes. I think like 30 to 40 now, which is the age range I'm in. But I put out a content today about 10 career decisions I would do differently, which has been one of my more popular videos I've ever done. Really? Of recently, of the past year, it's been my most popular so far. And so there might be a younger audience to appeal to.
So you focus more on YouTube, not Instagram.
So I was a little coronavirus. Coronavirus called me and that woke me the fuck up. And I was like, I have been on a tear internally because I think I was just like checking into life. And I think a lot of people do that. And I think that's like the majority. Like, okay, I have my job. Okay, this girl of mine, yeah, she sucks, but you know, she's there. And I think that's how we're all living. And when coronavirus hit, what specifically happened is a friend named Edmund reached out to me and he said, hey man, you know how you had that course and I took it and that's how we met? So we actually became friends. He's like, because I took that and I built up my confidence, I'm thriving during this time. And I think I just didn't have enough self-esteem about myself, or I thought maybe material I was sharing wasn't effective. It works for our company. I was like, I don't know if it works for him. And I was like, are you sure what I helped you with and what I taught? He's like, yeah. I was like, for real? And then another person messaged me, and then another. And I think that really helped me realize that we can all help people one by one. Mm-hmm. And that woke me up to like, holy shit, I'm going to go and fucking help everyone get off their ass, get some motivation, get some inspiration, and teach them during coronavirus, like how to start a business. And so that's led me to where I'm at now, and then you asked about YouTube and Instagram. So originally my goal this year, the way I've always done my business, we have one goal. That's what I learned from Mark. Just one goal. So and I asked the team today, I was doing a test. I asked the Dork team, I said, what is the goal for the year? And if not everyone knows the exact number and the exact goal, something's fucked. So AppSumo has a goal, which is $30 million. SendFox has a goal, which is 10,000 active customers. One goal, each team. And so our goal for Dork was to build an audience of 1 million active people. We called it MARG, Monthly Active Readership Growth, or something like that. It just sounded cool. But it was 1 million people a month. We wanted actively reading our material.
Right.
The thing that we found from that is that we had Google traffic and Instagram traffic and Twitter traffic and all these things. I think you have to figure out the medium you enjoy. So if you liked audio, if you like video, if you like text, if you like pictures, what we realize is that we can't be great at all the social media channels. Just can't. So we just picked one. How do you pick one? I think what I've realized about YouTube is it's actually harder to be successful there than podcast. And with podcasts, which I was doing, which we still do, is that I wasn't able to expand the audience very effectively. So your audience for podcast, let's say you get 50,000 downloads. To get to 55 is fucking tough. But to go from like 50,000 to 55,000 YouTube subs is a lot easier because it's public. It's a larger audience base that's available. And so it was just like picking one channel. So what we decided was that our goal was going to be 250,000 YouTube subscribers. And so that is all we focus on and everything. And it's actually been amazing because everyone knows the goal and everyone has their own sub key metric.
Right.
And then everyone it's amazing. Some of the things they're starting to do is really fucking impressive because they're like, all right, like one of the guys, his main job is the CTR on the videos. So his job is to figure out the thumbnail and the title of every single video. And you could start seeing like our fucking results, our sub numbers.
The thumbnail matters a lot. And yeah, for sure.
And so in Germany,
I made
it's phenomenal.
those mistakes earlier with thumbnails on. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so in terms of the success, it's been amazing. I think you could pick anything, but what's been amazing is to pick something and stick the fuck with it. So like with AppSumo, just to give people other ideas around how to think about it for themselves, get your first 100 subscribers on Instagram. Just get the fucking 100. And that's it. For AppSumo.com, our first year, I think it was to get 50,000 email subscribers. And then the second year was to get 500,000. And so that's all we fucking focused on. And yeah, I think with this content stuff, also figuring out where you have an advantage and like where you can create an advantage that others can't compete with you. Who else can be Jordan Belfort and have a movie with Leo? Basically fucking no one.
Right.
And so I think everyone has to kind of figure out, well, no one else can do Noah Kagan. All right, that's my advantage. No one else now. So we have money that comes in from AppSumo. Now I can hire a team of 4.
Right.
I can run $10,000 a month in advertising. There's something there to think about. And that's my advantage. Everyone has their own advantage. Like maybe you live in a certain area that I can't get to. Maybe you have access to certain people that I can't get to. Like my friend Ben, he actually trains people. He's the trainer for the Trailblazers, the Portland Trailblazers. I was like, bro, that's amazing. So he's starting to take advantage of his area of expertise.
What's next for you? You have this like you're just like on the path you want to be on right now. Like it seems like you're in a great spot, right? You're loving coronavirus.
I fucking love coronavirus. Coronavirus.
What is it about? Tell me what you like about it.
So I have not loved life this much in 40 years or 38 years. This is the most I've ever loved life.
And why is that?
I'm doing everything that I want. I'm doing like
explain.
Well, let me take a step back. I'm in different coaching and different therapies to keep working on myself. Sometimes you think, oh, you get this money, you get a sticker and it's over. It's not. I think the main thing that's happening now is that I'm just really trying to focus on fulfillment and enjoying each day more than anything. Because I think where my successes come from is that I'm never satisfied and I'm always next. Mm-hmm. I'm always microwave. I call it the microwave life. Hit the button, give me my fucking food, next food, go back to eat. Actually, I eat and I try to not use the microwave as much anymore because most of my meals were microwaved. And I think the way that the greatness of that is that I'm like, all right, we got this many subs, let's get more subs. But at the end of the day, I'm going to die and never really enjoy any of the thing that actually happened. Because I'm so consumed with bike riding is another example. I love riding bikes, especially here in LA. I'm so focused on going from the beginning of my ride to the end of the ride. I don't enjoy any of the fucking ride. I'm like, I just got to get to the end. I got to get to the end.
Where do you ride? Like, what do you,
like yesterday I did Malibu Hills and things like that. And I think the way to enjoy life in any aspects, whether you're working at Starbucks, which I just went to, or whether you're working behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, just enjoying the ride. And so I have a mantra that I read every morning. And part of the things that's in my mantra is just like, enjoy the journey, not the destination. And with coronavirus, I think it's really helped me. And I think for everyone, frankly, what fucking matters? Because now you can't do all the things you used to do that we took for granted. Right. So you're like, well, which people in my life matter? What work do I really want to do that matters? How do I want to spend my free time? And I think now I'm single, and I was like, well, that's not what I really wanted. And even yesterday, I had a fucking I wasn't crazy, but I had someone that I was going to live with, and I was like, I don't really want this. And I think we all kind of know things. We all know ourselves, especially if you're past the age of 10. You know what you want, you know what your dreams, and it's like, am I willing to do the hard thing and listen to myself? And I think I've been really fucking challenging myself on that, which is not easy.
What do you think about all the pain like of coronavirus is causing, like just unemployment and the division in the country? What are your thoughts on that? And do you see things getting better, or is it concern you now? It looks like they're starting more lockdowns again. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't read the news anymore. I stopped.
By the way, I got to tell you something. You're smarter than me, because I swore I would. I swore off it. I went back to and sucked on the tit again last week, and it just makes you crazy. By the way, it was absolutely maddening, right? Because the last 5 days I watched the news and I'm like, my head's spinning again, because all they tell you is terrible, awful.
I was in a text. Well, I think that's part of it. I was in this text group with all these successful entrepreneurs in Austin. And every fucking day, one guy's like, here's the virus numbers. Another guy's like, that's bullshit. Let me show you this other thing about donkey sperm is going to save us. And I'm like, I'm not going to go suck donkey dick. Not right now. And so it led me to focus on my sphere of influence and what I can control. Because I can't control the fucking virus. I'm not a scientist, nor do I want to be. And so...
Does it bother you, though, for instance, I find myself personally affronted with the whole mask situation, that I feel... Here's what I feel like, all right? I feel like that it's based on the research I've seen, the masks don't help. And I feel like that masks are meant for people who are... it's meant for, certain areas and certain things. I understand, by the way, that if it's a business and someone's working in a business, in a store, that they'd want to have that person. I get that. But to make people walk around in the street with them, to me, it's a choice. If someone wants to, that is totally fine. I am totally fine with that. I think everyone's got the right. But I think to be mandated, it's just something about it that really cuts to my core that it's not right. I don't judge anyone that wants to wear one, because that's perfectly all right. And that if it makes you feel better and you think, then maybe you're right. But to be mandated really bothers me.
Why is it? It doesn't bother me.
It bothers me.
I think I'm just I think that's probably why you're a successful entrepreneur, because I think to some level of people being successful, they're saying, well, hold on, let me at least ask a question.
Right here.
Yeah, in all aspects. So I think you're probably right.
Let's just say that if I thought that the science was clear, I would 100% wear a mask all the time. I think it's pretty clear that the mask doesn't help.
You agree that people are getting... I don't know if we should go on this, but I think what's interesting...
No, we should go on this.
But do you think people... Okay, it's your show. You're going to fuck you up.
I'm totally fine.
Do you think people are getting sick?
Of course.
We're on the same page.
Of course.
Okay, so I haven't really read a lot of the science as much recently. Though. Okay. Everyone has so would you agree that a lot of people have different opinions about this?
I think very few people are educated, but there's certainly different opinions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there is a virus.
Assholes' opinions. Everyone has one, right?
That is true. I never really thought of that one. No, I've never really thought. It really means everyone does have an asshole, literally.
Right, exactly. Everyone's got an asshole.
I think for myself, I kind of respect however different people want to take it. I have some friends, literally my business partner, and this is not as a negative, he has chosen not to leave his house in 140 days.
That's his choice.
And that's his choice.
Right.
And I left Texas and I drove across the country, and now I'm in Malibu.
Right.
And hanging out with you in your house. And so I think everyone needs to take caution wherever they see right. I think your question...
I think you missed the point here. Of course the virus is real. And it's very dangerous for people over a certain age and people who are immune compromised. And those people should be very careful and I think they should be isolated and taken care of. I think money should have went to those people to make sure they stayed safe. That's not what happened. Instead, they took healthy people that were at probably no more risk than for any other influenza or some other disease. And they costed such a cost to the economy. You could have taken that money and made everyone that needed to be made safe.
We just put them in camps?
Whatever. No, at home with filet mignon, shrimp, and lobster.
Okay, take a step back.
No, let them live home.
These guys that are... Well, one, I do want to talk about... Because I honestly think coronavirus is the best business opportunity in my life.
It's been great to me.
It's been the best. I think for anyone out there, this is the greatest equalizer.
There's a lot of opportunities. So far, it's been great.
And people are like, well, my business... If your business got fucked, it's because you're not valuable enough, and now it's a chance for you to fix it. But take a step. Let's stay with the coronavirus, non-business stuff. These guys that are working out of your office. Do you know what happens when they leave the fucking house? When they leave your house and whoever they're fucking or
no
seeing.
idea.
So is there a chance that they could go and be dumbasses or dumb-ass women and do something, get the virus, come back, bring it to you?
Of course.
Okay.
They could also bring me hepatitis. They could also.
You're not going to get STDs from these guys.
No. It could also catch any different. That could catch any one of many diseases.
But one that's like as painful as this.
It's not so painful though. I have a very strong immune system. If I'm not living my life in fear of a virus because there's many viruses all over. This particular one for a guy like me is not very dangerous.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this: if it was the Spanish fucking flu of 1918, I'd be fucking hiding here with a mask and say, "Get that shit away from me." And I think that in the beginning, no one really knew. I think that it's very clear at this point that there are certain groups of people that are really highly at risk and others that many are not. Okay. And I think that at this point that the cost, the medicine is worse than the cure is worse than the disease, and the unintended consequences of locking people in their homes in poverty were going to cause so many more deaths that for every death that you have from coronavirus, real death, not report, real death that was actually from corona, not someone who died with coronavirus, but from coronavirus, it will be 100 times more people die from poverty, depression, and many other things related to that. So I think that you can't look at it in a very narrow lens. Of course, every life is precious. You don't want to kill people, but what's on the other side of costing? That's the question.
So if I'm understanding you, I want to see if I understand. So your preference is that you don't like that the government imposed the mask and imposed all the closing of restaurants, or what is your recommendation?
I believe that people should be able to make their own choices given what's going on. I think that it's very clear that this disease is very, very dangerous for certain groups of people, a very small group, and not very dangerous for the vast majority of the population. They don't die from this, okay? If it was opposite, I have a very different view. I'm pragmatic. So I believe based on that, the economic damage done by closing every restaurant and store and mall is going to create far more death than you could ever have by transmitting coronavirus.
Okay. I guess I stay in my lane here.
That's my view.
No, I think you should. I think the question is
and I'm very well schooled in this.
No,
okay?
you are, and you're very passionate about it.
And I'm very passionate because I also don't like government. I'm a believer in less government.
I can imagine.
I am a believer.
I agree. Same here.
I'm very much bothered by things that I look at as power grabs.
Okay, we'll take a step back. I totally agree with that. What are you going to do about it?
I've been very vocal about it.
I know, which is good, and that's how movements can start.
But I never do. I'm never not one to. I wear a mask when I'm required to wear a mask by law. I obey the law because I'm a good citizen. Seriously, I do. I'm not. I don't.
You're my scoutmaster of my troop.
I'm just saying. I'm not. Yeah, right. No, I'm just saying. I'm not going out there. I'm not like. I refuse to wear a mask. No, if I go into a place they say I'll put a mask on. I'm not happy, but I do it. When it was very much of a lockdown, I stayed home. I didn't go out. I obeyed the lockdown. I was not happy about it. I wasn't rebelling in the streets. Although, if I thought at a certain point, if it crossed over to much further, I would have been in the streets rebelling. Because if I thought that our civil liberties were being violated, I didn't think it got that far. I think it was starting to cross there, and then they realized. Then look what happened. There was massive riots in the street, and you can't say those two weren't related. I mean, obviously, you lock people down. Of course, they could eventually riot. That's what happened.
I don't disagree, man.
It's like, it's like when you have, it's the example. And I don't want to get into the whole Black Lives Matter. It's a whole different topic. But the point is that, you just lock people at home. It ain't gonna, something's going to happen bad. Whatever that spark is, it'll be, if it wasn't that, it'd be something else. There's always a lot of righteous indignation out there. Just needs a spark to set it off,
I mean, I agree with you. I agree.
You strike me as a really healthy guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what has been inspiring for me for Corona. It's like, what can I control? And do I want to fucking not have to be able to go to restaurants and go to bars? I'm in LA because there's so much amazingness here and it's all closed down. That's fucking crazy.
It really bothers me.
And it does bother you, and you're entitled to be. And I feel like if you're bothered, you should be bothered. I guess I've tried to say, all right, how do I take that energy and what is going to be a productive use of that energy? At the end of the day, for myself. And so it's like, well...
I did all that, though. But I built a business during Corona.
And I think you should keep... Yeah, and I think everyone should.
But I think we also owe, as I think that, I have a voice. And I think that, that I have a very much of a very schooled insight into what's going on. I'm not like an idiot going, there's no coronavirus. It's 5G. I'm not like fucking on. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I'm trying to look at things through a much broader lens, saying that the cost, that life is more complex than saying who died, who lived. If living becomes not really living, and also if there's more death being caused on the other side, just might take a bit longer to reveal itself. So one saying, okay, X people died this month, But how many will die over the next 5 years? It's like the atomic bomb goes off. Yeah, X people die the first day, and many, many more die over radiation poisoning and cancer over years to come, and pass defects along to their children and so on. We can go on and on here, okay? But I think the most important thing, which you bring up a very valid point, is to let that bother you and stop you from living and being productive and moving forward is a mistake. And I agree with you 1,000%. How do you use it to look at it also at the same time and say, how do I take this and not so much use it to my advantage, but to use it to my advantage? How do I take my business and pivot, maybe fill a new need, right? What would you do right now if you owned a restaurant?
I think restaurants have just a great opportunity.
What would you do?
So number one, if I have a restaurant, I would see, hey, do I have any contact information of my past clients? The first thing you should do is look who already knows you and who already likes you. If you have any email list, if you have any access to your customer base, I would try to figure out how do I do like a monthly subscription of food to these customers. That's it. That's one way. So let's just say
I like that. I love that because I thought of that. I was thinking if I own the restaurant, what I do is probably something along that.
So I think there's a lot of different opportunities for it. So one, what I'm observing trend wise in terms of the business ideas, and I'm studying and looking at. You look at coronavirus data. I'm looking at what business ideas data is growing.
Sure.
And what's fascinating about that is looking at what's growing. And if you're a restaurant, how do you align with that? So one of the fastest growing things is gardening and recipes. So if you're a restaurant, can you maybe be selling recipes to people or having recipe books or things like that people can do at home? Someone like myself, I don't know about the audience, but I'm cooking a lot more, which I normally haven't done before. So how can a restaurant be selling something around that? Can they be packaging any of their goods? So almost every restaurant has a signature dish. So do you have a signature sauce? Do you have a signature like croissant? Do you have a signature taco or whatever that is? And how do you actually package that so that you can be distributing it either to the supermarkets or onto Instacart or onto, directly to the customers? The other thing I would be doing, as we talked about, if you don't have a customer list, how do you start building a customer list? Mm-hmm. One restaurant I've seen, it's a donut shop in Milwaukee. They started doing DIY kits. So they, instead of cooking it for you, they give you the pasta, or this one place specifically gave you the donut material so you can make your own donuts, because they were a donut store.
I saw what was that? I think that Boa had that. I saw they had some stuff where like they make your own little. I think it was Boa or somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think my point here is that I don't know the right answer. I know that it sounds like your attitude and my attitude is like, if I'm going to survive, like there's my stepdad and I talk about this. This is probably one of the greatest wealth distributions that's going to happen in our lifetime.
No doubt.
Right. In terms of like, there are people actually getting extremely wealthy.
Yeah. Amazon.
Amazon's getting wealthy. Zoom is getting wealthy. The tech companies are getting wealthy. And if you're in the restaurant business, it might also be an interesting thing to think about, like, well, where else can I be going related to it? So one of my friends sells shoes. These are my favorite shoes. They're called swaths.com. I don't think a lot of people are buying fucking shoes. You know why? Because they're staying at home. Maybe they're walking around the block. And so I think what's interesting...
It's true, by the way.
What's that?
No, it's true. Like, people aren't going and walking.
No one's buying socks and shoes, man. Like, if you're fucking away luggage, good luck. You're probably going away.
Imagine owning an airline right now.
Yeah, airline or luggage. I mean, I think the thing that's interesting, though, is that people are like, oh, everyone's not spending money. Everyone's buying food. Everyone's paying for Netflix. People are doing a lot of board games. People are cooking a lot of fucking food. And so I think if you're in some vertical that has not worked out and you have somewhat of a customer base, or if any of them, there's something else that they do want to buy from you, and especially if you've treated them well. And so it's figuring out. So the shoes, this girl, Swabs Monksy, she's now selling meditation. She's trying to sell meditation to customers. I don't know if that's going to work, but I love that she's at least experimenting to say, all right, shoes aren't working right now, but I have a customer base that's trusted me and believed in me. Let me find other things that I can help them in during this period of time.
I like it. What do you think the world looks like next year at this time? Think it's open, closed, or somewhere in the middle?
I don't know if I've thought that far ahead. This morning, I talked to my business partner, and we both I kind of think that people should assume it should last longer than they think it should assume. And so, because I think where people are in denial is like, this is going to end next week. And that's why what was fascinating to me, I was talking with our team about it this morning, was that how when we thought it was over, people rush back to the bars, they rush back to the beach, they rush back, and then the numbers go up, and then the government does whatever the government does, which I'm not actually disagreeing that about being our civil liberties and where's the right answer. But I think what people are thinking is it's going to end soon, so let me just wait for it. I'm like, fuck waiting. What can you do now, assuming you don't know when it's going to end, so that you can have a life that's even better when it does? And that's the way that I've been approaching it, and I think everyone should.
Do you sense that, like, I think I just saw, like, in the last week, it looks like that things are about to tighten up again for a while.
This seems like.
Right? Just for
That's what
those
it seems
people,
like.
if you're listening to this, just to give you my opinion, it seems like that any hope this was going to dissipate over the summer with the heat is kind of evaporated at this point.
I forgot about that.
Right, this summer, which is interesting, by the way, because I thought that it would, given it's a coronavirus, but for whatever, I think that the next few months could be difficult. But I think the smart entrepreneur. I think you have to look at this as an opportunity. You just have to.
Big time, man.
There's no other way to go and be in business, because if you're not, you shouldn't be in business, because listen, there's they always say, like, in any crisis there's the greatest opportunities. There always are opportunities. The question is where are they, and are you to be the one to take advantage of them?
Yeah, the phrase I've identified with is the chaos is in the opportunity. When things are stable, there's not as much opportunity because people already know.
It's not exactly, yeah. I agree. I couldn't agree more. The massive redistribution of wealth right now is just unbelievable, So everyone listening, guys, I want to thank you. It was really, you're awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
I think what I like best about your attitude is that it's not like you're not thinking pie in this. It's very like sort of, just what's the first year look like, the first 100,000, the first 10 customers, right?
Yeah.
So it's very much sort of step by step. So it's very achievable and attainable. And I think the summation of all those little steps creates some massive success at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Bottom line. Everyone, Noah Kagan, I want you to all share this one with your friends. People need to hear this, especially now at this time. Any negativity out there should be flipped, because the opportunities are still there. They're bigger than ever. And this is the great redistribution of wealth. The question is, which side of it are you going to be on? All right, guys, we're doing a challenge here. YouTube challenge. Are you ready for this? This is Noah's idea. All right. And it's a good one, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to let Noah explain it right now. It's a $500 cash stipend Noah's giving out. Explain
stipend.
the
I like that. I like the
stipend.
stipend. So it's awesome. I do appreciate getting to meet the Wolf of Wall Street and talking with you and seeing what you put out. And so as the people that have been watching your material, I thought, how do we get them practicing sales? Because one of my biggest things is taking action now. Don't wait till coronavirus is over. Don't wait till the government gives you permission. Take action now. So I will pay you $500 to convince me. I don't know if you're going to be a part of it, but I'll run it by you.
No, I want to be.
So so you have to convince us.
I'll kick in $500 too. Let's make it $1,000.
I'm going to put in $500. All right, I like that. That's cool. All right, we do $1,000 challenge. It's not enough.
$1,000 challenge.
All right, and so you have to sell us. So if you've been watching this material, stop sitting on the sidelines. Leave a comment about why we should choose you. You've listened to this episode. You listened to a lot of Jordan's material. This is a chance for you to actually show off if you've actually been learning anything, and now it's a chance to do something. So $1,000 challenge. Leave a comment why we should choose you to give that money to you as a stipend.
And don't just say, because I need it, because my aunt's having an operation. No, seriously, what would you do with the money? Tell us why you deserve $1,000, and we'll give it to you.